N-Acetylcysteine, or NAC for short, is one of the most interesting compounds in medicine. It's been used for decades in hospitals clinically with multiple different usages. It's sold as a supplement, and it's been studied for everything from lung disease to brain health to aging in the literature. Today I'm going to break down what NAC is, how it works, where it helps, where it potentially doesn't help, and how to properly dose it intelligently. What's up, guys? My name is Philip with MD Fit. I'm a fourth year medical student at Baylor College of Medicine, very interested in the science of longevity and performance medicine. This video is going to be a part of a two-part video series. In the next video, we're going to break down a randomized control trial that looked at specific markers for aging, health, and performance with the supplementation of N-acetylcysteine, as well as another target amino acid. So let's get into the video. What is N-acetylcysteine? N-acetylcysteine is a synthetic precursor molecule for L-cysteine. Its primary biologic importance is that it's a precursor. Cysteine is a precursor for the body's primary antioxidant, which is known as glutathione. This is the most prevalent antioxidant within our body that's produced endogenously, right? Antioxidants are extremely important to fight inflammation and reduce the level of reactive oxygen species within our body. With higher levels of reactive oxygen species, right, we see increased inflammation, increased insulin resistance, decreased mitochondrial fatty acid oxidation, as well as a host of other deleterious impacts that can be poor for aging or health outcomes. So rather than acting like an antioxidant, NAC works upstream by restoring the raw materials that they need to protect themselves. As we get older, our ability to produce glutathione decreases. So young people typically don't have issues synthesizing adequate glutathione stores, but as we get older, glutathione synthesis goes down over time. So let's talk real quick about the established clinical usages. How is N-acetylcysteine being used today in the hospital? Well, first, it really mainly has three clinical usages. First, it's a mucolytic. It can break disulfide bonds and help you expectorate mucus from your bronchial tissue or your lungs. So if you have cystic fibrosis, for example, this can be very useful. For chronic lung disease, this can be very useful. If you need to get mucus out of your lungs, it can help break those bonds down within the mucus and make it easier to get out. Next, it's used in the ED for acetaminophen overdosages. We see this all the time, and it essentially helps restore hepatic glutathione. So the same way that we're talking about it therapeutically in the supplement longevity context, it's used in the emergency room. When somebody takes way too much acetaminophen, their liver shuts down, it fails because there's too much oxidative stress within the liver. And so if you can restore the antioxidant, the body's primary antioxidant required for fighting all of this damage, then you can potentially save the liver. So an acetaminophen overdose, NAC is always used. Finally, it's used for COPD as both a mucolytic and for its antioxidant effects. And so these uses alone tell us something important. NAC's effects are real, they're reproducible, and they're clinically meaningful. This isn't just some random mumbo jumbo supplement that might have a study that is in a rodent model, right? Preclinical study that shows promising effects. No, this is being used in patients today with real morbidity, real mortality. So now let's get into mechanism of action. So we already talked about the glutathione repletion, as NAC acts as a prodrug for cysteine, which allows for increased synthesis of glutathione when cysteine availability is limiting. Additionally, there are three other mechanisms. It has direct redox activity. NAC has a free sulfhydryl group on its chemical structure that can directly scavenge oxidants like hydrogen peroxide, hypochloric acid, and hydroxyl radicals. So not only can it increase the amount of glutathione, the body's main endogenous antioxidant, it can also act kind of like an antioxidant in and of itself. Third, it has direct anti-inflammatory effects. NAC reduces pro-inflammatory cytokine levels, including TNF-alpha, IL-6, IL-1 beta, either directly or secondarily through reduced oxidative stress, probably both. And finally, through disulfide bond reduction. So by reducing disulfide bonds, N-acetylcysteine increases the pool of bioavailable thiols within the body, which are critical for mitochondrial and cellular signaling. So these are the 4 mechanisms of actions that are proposed. The main primary one, though, is the glutathione prodrug activity, where it increases glutathione stores through cysteine availability. Interestingly, as a brief aside, I just wanted to point this out. NAC is actually being looked at for other clinical usages as well, neurologically and within the nervous system. It can regulate glutamine within the brain, one of the main excitatory neurotransmitters in the brain, through regulation of the cysteine glutamate transporter or antiporter. It can improve potentially synaptic plasticity, reduce neuroinflammation, support mitochondria within neural tissue, and help with impulse control and mood disorders within a psychiatric context. It kind of makes sense that if you have more inflammation in the brain, potentially you will be more at risk for psychiatric symptoms. So that's why NAC is being used as a potential tool, or looked at for a potential tool within a psychiatric context. For safety and dosing, so this compound, NAC, is very well tolerated. There are very few side effects reported. The main side effect that I'm really able to see in the literature is GI distress, and a lot of that has to do with the size of your dose, and then also just the frequency of the dosing, right? So if you're taking a certain dose and you're experiencing side effects, if you just split that or break that dose up into 2 to 3 times per day, then a lot of the times those can completely resolve. At very high doses, like 6 grams per day, some Parkinson's patients reported worsening symptoms, but healthy individuals tolerated the same dose just fine. So you can really take this drug to a very high level, but I'm not saying you should, and we're going to get into exactly why you shouldn't be megadosing this drug. There is something known as the reductive stress caveat. So the reductive stress caveat essentially says that cells need a critical amount of reactive oxygen species for signaling. You need a certain amount of inflammation in the body to function properly. And if you take too much N-acetylcysteine, excessive antioxidant suppression can cause reductive stress, which is kind of the opposite of too much oxidative stress, which is just as damaging to the body. And in preclinical C. elegans models, right, this is just like a roundworm, N-acetylcysteine alone was found to accelerate aging at too high of a dose. So that's why it's very important not to just take N-acetylcysteine alone and megadose it because you've seen that it's some kind of longevity drug. I've seen a lot of videos touting the benefits of N-acetylcysteine, and a lot of videos, I haven't seen too many people saying you should megadose, so that's a good thing. But I kind of want to make sure and underscore the importance of how, yeah, there are risks to taking these supplements, to doing these drugs, and that's why you need to do it under a doctor's supervision or under expert supervision. I always say, I mean, especially if you're a healthy individual, start low. There's really no need, especially if you're younger. I mean, I think somebody at my age, I'm 26, N-acetylcysteine is not a supplement that I'm going to be taking into my stack. But I think maybe when you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, and so on, you can start really thinking about including a little bit of N-acetylcysteine. That being said, as you get older, your glutathione production decreases endogenously. So I think at 40, your dose shouldn't be as high as it would be at 70. So there is going to be a lot of different dosaging protocols, but you can figure out what's best for you. If you're an otherwise healthy individual, I've seen a lot of kind of 200 milligrams per day, which is a very conservative dose, and I don't think that would really be harmful or deleterious to somebody in any context. That being said, if you take too much N-acetylcysteine, it can reduce your pool of glycine because you need cysteine and glycine to make glutathione. So make sure that you can take a glycine supplement, or you're at least eating an adequate amount of animal products like amino acids with highly bioavailable amino acid complexes. But that's going to be kind of a topic for the next video. So that's going to be it for today's video. That's going to be it for part 1. I hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys found it informative. Please, if you found it useful, like, comment, subscribe. It really helps with the algorithm. And with that, we'll see you in part 2. See ya.